Hello and welcome to today's video, which is a Q&A. So I asked you lovely people over on my Instagram to send me questions. And you've provided, there's quite a lot. I might even end up having to split this in two parts because I just think it's going to be so long. So we're just going to jump in, see how we get on. I'll try and not talk too much, no promises. Would you ever own mice? I would love to. I am very fascinated with them. I think what gets my interest the most is the fact that they're so small and I can make them teeny tiny things to play in, and I just love the thought of that. It's definitely not on the cards right now. If the other half has anything to do with it, that'll be never. So I'd love to, but not right now, not in the foreseeable future. Anything else outside of the norm to consider when rescuing rats for the first time? I think this really depends on what each person thinks is a normal, a standard thing to think about when rescuing rats. From my own perspective and having rescued for years, I would say quite a lot of the time rescue rats need a more experienced home. They can be flighty, they may be scared so they bite, so they need more careful handling, they need more socialisation. They're maybe not necessarily ones for, you know, first time or new owners, but that's not to say that there's circumstances that arrive in which rescue rats are perfectly friendly, you know, easy to handle, etc. It's all like a very individual basis, I think. You know, there's no set in stone, and no two rats are the same, so you're going to get different outcomes every time when you're looking at rescue rats. The other thing that I personally dealt with is the health implications of rescue rats. You get quite a lot of respiratory diseases and quite a lot of tumours, and that's just speaking from my own experience with the rescue rats that I had. How often do you breed? How many rats do you end up keeping? How often I breed depends, these kind of tie in, it depends how many females I've kept, and also out of those females that I've kept, how many I then decide to breed. Because there has been situations where I've kept 3 females and only bred 2. There's been situations where I've mated up 4 and only 3 ended up having successful pregnancies. So sometimes it's not down to me, sometimes it's down to the rat just not wanting babies or not able to have babies, or the male not being fertile. You know, there's so many things that can basically affect how often I breed. I would say last year I bred quite a few, but that's when I had 2 lines. I'm now only going to be focusing on the 1 line for the foreseeable future, so that means I've got less. So for example, I've only planned to breed 3 very soon, and then after that it would just be whatever babies I've kept from these 3, that will be the next to breed, and that will be when they are about, you know, 8 months old. So that's quite far down the line. How long have you had rats as pets? Now, as much as I remember my first rat, I don't remember my exact age. It has definitely been over 20 years though. It's been a long time. That's giving away my age a little bit. So yes, it's definitely been over 20 years. Maybe even come up 25. I don't have an exact. It's been a long time. What are your favourite varieties of rats? There's a lot of more uncommon, kind of newer ones, not newer ones, but more uncommon to be bred ones coming out now that I love the look of. But at the moment, I mean, I love Rex. I also love Dumbos. Dumbos just have the cutest little ears on them. So basically, my breeding plans when I started was for a Agouti Rex. I still love Agouti, but I also like things that are Agouti based, so like the Russian blue Agouti, the Russian dove Agouti, just the way that those colorations affects the fur. I just think they're really, really pretty to look at, and I absolutely love those. So Russian blue Agouti is another favourite of mine. Basically anything that I can mix with a goodie is good for me. It's where I'm going, and like I said, Rex. I love the Rex coat. What made you want to start breeding rats? This came back to, I think I've spoke about this before. This might have been in the video that I did with Emma and Emmy, and as I've mentioned, I did a lot of rescuing for years, and with that, I mean, there was a lot of joy, of course, because rescuing is very rewarding, but there's a lot of heartache at the same time because, you know, they're not the healthiest of animals. You've got so many health problems, and it was starting to get to me. You know, it was draining. I'd done it for years. It was quite draining, and this also tied in with the point where I started getting rats from a breeder, and I went to my first show. And of course, you know, in doing that, you start getting interested in more things. You speak to breeders. I found myself in a very encouraging environment where, although I didn't really know anything about breeding, I was actively encouraged, you know, to go for it if that's what I wanted to do. So that kind of, like, you know, that planted the seed. That was there. And then combined with the fact that my other half built my rat shed for me, that then gave me the space to be able to breed. Combined with the support and encouragement of the fancy, I then sourced my foundation rats, and basically that was it. That was me. So that's been, is this my third year? Oh yes, this will be like my third year, because my girls from my first litter are literally going to be well, they will turn 3 in a few months. So yeah, it's almost like a 3-year anniversary soon. Signs of hormonal aggression in rats. I would suggest watching my video with Bran, the one where I talk about neutering, only because his situation was a less common occurrence, which was mental intimidation of his group. The more common one that you will find is the physical damage that an aggressive male rat will do, whether that is to cage mates or if that is to humans. So there will be bite wounds and lots of fighting. But as I said, in Bran's case, that was a less common one, and he was more mentally intimidating his group and causing issues that way. Do you have a favourite rat? I can't say I have a single favourite rat. There's definitely ones that I am more attached to than others, that I'm more bonded to. Most recent one that really hurt to let go was Alice. She was such a sweetheart, like I was very, very attached to her. So yeah, having larger groups, I would say it does mean that I don't have an attachment as such to like all of them, and there's more, you know, there's more 1 or 2 that just steal my heart. Just like, there's always 1 or 2 that I'm just like more attached to than the others. But as I said, it's not to mean that I don't, you know, care or love my other ones. It's just like a different level. Do you prefer males or females? Females. I started out with females, and as much as I love my males and I obviously need them for breeding, there's just something about girls that I love so much better. I think I just love their energy and how much they interact with me. Yeah, just if I had to only keep one for like the rest of my life, it would be girls, definitely girls. What are ways of telling a rat's personality? I don't know, are you basing this on in general, or are you asking this more like, as I'm a breeder, how do I find the personalities of the kittens? I mean, a rat is like a human. There's no two the same. We're all different, and that's very much the same with rats. You'll find out quite early on in terms of when I'm breeding, you know, I'll find out from a few weeks old which ones are a bit more confident as kittens. You'll see the ones that are a bit more bolder, they'll come forward first, they'll investigate things first, and you'll get the ones that will hang back a little bit. And that's not to say that the ones that are a bit more reserved and hanging back, you know, they don't make good pets. And that's not to say that later on, when they gain confidence, they're not actually going to be just as confident as the kittens that were, you know, at the forefront before. yeah, just basically think of rats as little humans, and we're all different, and their personality is going to shine through the more you spend time with them. So spending time with them will let you get to know more about them. Have you had a heart rat that has stuck out more than most in your life? There's always a fondness for certain rats in my past. There was a rat that I had called Monkey. I don't know why I called her Monkey, I just did. She was a pink-eyed white. I was very attached to her. She was like my little baby. And then there was also Candy. Again, another one that I got very attached to. They were quite early rats on in my kind of rat journey, so that might have something to do with it. You know, that was me getting my love for rats. And over the years, I've had many ones that, you know, I've been more fond of than others, as I've previously just talked about. There'll be ones that stand out more. I couldn't pick just, I couldn't pick just one. There's no way I could pick just one. Definitely not. What are the best and worst parts about breeding? The best parts, there's actually a few. Like, there's that excitement of raising the kittens. Like, it's very, very rewarding. It's very expensive. It's very tiring. They take a lot of time, but it's so rewarding. And see, when I like place them in homes, and obviously I vet homes. I place them as carefully as I can because I want them to have good lives. When I get videos and pictures and just updates of seeing how these kittens are doing in homes and how happy these owners are with rats that I've bred, like, that's amazing. That makes me so happy. So happy that I've made all these other people happy, so that is very, very rewarding to me. The worst parts, when things go wrong. I've obviously put videos up talking about some issues that I've had go wrong. I've lost the dough, I've lost litters, it's just, those days are hard. And when you hit days like that, you've got to try and remember the good things, as I've said, the pet homes that are, happy with their rats, etc. So there's good and bad with everything in life, and that's the same with rat breeding. What's your favourite activities to do with the rats? In summer, definitely letting them fish. They love splashing in bowls of water, so I give them peas and sweet corn, and they dive around the water for that. Helps them cool down because it does get quite warm in the shed in the summer. Does going to shows count as an activity? Maybe more for me than the rats, but I love going to shows. Other things that I like doing with the rats is just giving them like new challenges, to work their little brains basically. If you give them a new toy in the free roam, it's seeing them interact with it, it's giving them a new toy in the cage, it's just mentally challenging them to work out this new toy. So yeah, just basically seeing them be rats and seeing how clever they are, that's really, really good to see. Why are rat shows important? This is a good question. So, rat shows are important for a number of reasons. Me just being, just breeding my own, I am only using my own eye to look at my rats. I can see things that might not be there. I can see things that are there, but I can also become what is known as shed blind. I would just be used to what's in my shed. I would only have my own opinion, and that wouldn't help me better my rats. Going to shows and having other people handle them, other people judge them, especially people that have maybe been in the fancy for so many years, have had prize-winning rats, know exactly what you're looking for. To have that critique given to you, it gives you something to strive for. Like, nobody can tell you that their rats are perfect and they breed, the best rats. It's, you always have to aim to be better, and that's fine, and it can take time to get there, 100%. In my case, I had a very lucky rat from my first litter, Aussie. He was an amazing Rex. Absolutely outstanding. Like, every show he was at, he'd always win. He was so good at his variety. I've not had one like him since. And you know what? That's not disappointing. That's that's challenging me to be able to, you know, find another Aussie essentially, you know, make another one that was as good as him. Yes, I've had some decent ones. I've had Theo, which was his son, and Theo did very well in shows as well, but he just wasn't that quality that his dad was. So yeah, shows are important to make sure that you don't go blind to what you're breeding. It also opens up networking. Networking to be able to support you, which again I've talked about in my previous breeding videos when I've had things go wrong. I've been able to approach breeders to get help, which is great. So yes, it opens up networking. And also if you want to outcross your line, if you want to add new varieties, you know, new lines to your shed, then being at shows, it also gives the impression that you are keen to learn, you are active in the fancy, and you know how much easier it is if you're active in the fancy to be able to get rats from other breeders. Basically you're kind of put above any waiting pet homes, you know, all breeders will work the same. We are working to improve the fancy, and if we've had someone approach us for foundation rats, you know, just say we had a list of 10 people, but someone approached us for foundation rats and they've been active in the fancy, we would all home to this new breeder in order to help the fancy before going to our waiting list after that, because we are trying to make more good breeders in the UK. We definitely need them. Like, there's a few cropped up this past probably 6 months, which is fantastic, and we definitely need more of them because there's not enough good breeders to go with the demand. But again, that comes into, we are not breeding to fill that demand. That's a completely separate topic. We're getting off track. So yes, shows are important to make sure that you're on the right track, keeping your rats healthy and making the best rat that you can, and networking to keep your options open to be able to interact with other breeders with the same varieties or different varieties and have opinions of more experienced people. Difficult intros. How long to persevere for and when do you neuter? This is quite a hard one just to give one straight answer because there is no one straight answer. It depends on the severity of why the intros aren't progressing. You know, like, what is the cause of these intros not progressing? Is wounds being done? Is a rat constantly harassing another one? Is there a rat that is absolutely terrified of one of the other ones? It's not really a straightforward question I can just answer. You need to know the different situations are going to mean different things. In terms of why I would neuter, again, I kind of answered that in my when to neuter video talking about Bran, so I won't go into that again. But yeah, I'm afraid that that's definitely not one I can answer just straight off. I need to know more context about what is happening in the group. There's also situations which, quite handy being a breeder, is that I have multiple groups, so I can, if it's not working with one group, I can try putting rat into another group. But very much if it is just one sole rat that is causing the aggression and causing the issues, then neutering probably is the best course of action at that point. Thoughts on the superlorin implant for hormonal aggression? Unfortunately, I can't really give much of an opinion because I've not used it. So with that knowledge, I would just say that I personally am happy fully neutering any bucks that need neutered, because I tend to find that when I neuter bucks, I then put them with females because they are just much happier with females after that, and I would not trust an implant to stop that rat from being able to impregnate my females that I then put them with. It is also quite affordable for me to get my rat neutered at my vet. I've never asked them about the implant, and I expect if I did it would cost probably double if not more what I pay for a neuter. So personally, I prefer to just straight up neuter them and the buck then goes with females. What substrate do you use and why? It's changed a lot over the years. I've had different things at different times. I used to use cardboard bedding, with basically chopped up cardboard squares. It's called Bed XL. It is still available. Then I ended up moving on more to the shavings. Again, there's lots of suitable ones available. The one that I really like and is easy for me to get hold of just now is Carr's Billington shavings. I've got one like 10 minutes away from me, and it's just easy to go and pick up the shavings. And buying a whole bale, it's like less than £10 for a whole bale, and I usually buy like multiples at a time, and it just saves a journey. So yes, that is my substrate of choice at the moment. What was your first litter? So my first litter was my foundation rats, obviously, because it was my first litter, so I'd sourced my well-bred foundation rats. I had Stilly Rats Supernova, pet name Nova, was the mother of my first litter. And I had Endeavour to Save Gotham, that was my buck that I got from my foundation. And I was very lucky because my first litter, there was no issues. She had a wonderful birth, she raised all the kittens. This is really bad, off the top of my head, I want to say there was 11. 11 sticking in my head. You know, it's been that long that I have basically a spreadsheet with all these notes on it. I want to say she had 11. But anyway, she was, oh, I was obsessed with them. Absolutely obsessed, you know. I remember, you know, I always wanted to go and check on them, always wanted to handle them. Mum was really relaxed, she would always come out to see me. And I remember thinking, these are amazing. How am I going to home these? Like, how am I going to give these away to people when they're 8 weeks old? Because I had such a strong bond and attachment to these little pink things. And I was like, I don't think I can do it. I remember laughing because all my other breeder friends, they were just like, yeah, just you wait, yeah, you'll get to that stage. And I think it hit about 6 or 7 weeks. And that's when, it's not, I want to say it's when they get really needy, but it's just because they're all coming out of their own personalities. And as a breeder, it's hard to deal with that because you've got so many of them at once. And they could really benefit at that point, you know, being ready to go off to homes and have that interaction with just being 2 or 3 of them instead of like a big group of them. So yeah, it got to about that stage and I was like, I need them to go home, like I need them out. Like, I no longer had that, I want to keep them all. I had that, no, they need to go. I did keep quite a lot from my first 2 litters because my second litter came about a week after that. And I did keep 7 rats from my first 2 litters, which is a hell of a lot. But again, it was my attachment at that point. I have thankfully learned over time, keep less. Although my numbers are quite high just now, I've definitely learned to keep less, and I no longer have an issue where I want to keep like the entire litter. I enjoy raising the babies, I enjoy having them, but I'm ready for them to get out. When they come to like 8 weeks old, they can go. They're good to go. Do you have any other animals except rats? Yes. I have 2 dogs. One of them you probably heard earlier because he was moaning. I have a Siberian Husky called Kira. She is 9 years old. I've had her since she was a puppy. And then we have Demon, who is a Malamute cross. We rescued him about 3.5 years ago. And he's fitted in quite well. He's very mouthy. He basically does everything that Kira doesn't. Like, it turned out she was actually the best behaved husky we've ever owned. You know, she doesn't escape fences, she doesn't dig holes, anything like that. And then we get him and suddenly there's like multiple holes in the garden. And because he's a Malamute, he shouts at you a lot. There's a lot of me shouting at him and him shouting back at me. He's very mouthy. Very mouthy. How much time on average do you spend on taking care of your rats daily? It can vary. If it's been, obviously in these circumstances, this is very strange because I'm on furlough just now, so I have a lot of time. If we go back to a more standard, you know, normal time when I'm at work, they get fed in the morning, I get home at night, I give them their dinner, and then I'll let some of the groups out. So they'll get interaction with me, can maybe be about half an hour. But then on like a day off, I could maybe sit in the pen with them for an hour or something. You know, like it's so varied. You know, right now I have all this time. I can go out whenever and sort of play with them. Although they are basically sleeping during the day. It's more the evening times when I bring them out because that's when they're awake. So yes, it's very different just now. They're definitely getting longer with me and I'm around more. but other days, like when I'm at work, they'll get less time spent. Do you manage to free roam every group of rats every day? No. No, I do not. It depends how many groups of rats I have. So if I've got litters, that can obviously increase how many groups I have. That's also one of the key reasons why I happily, well, I merge all the bucks. When the bucks get separated from their mums, they all go into one big group. And I quite often now, because it's easier again for like space wise, is I merge all the does as well, and then I put the mums back to their original group. So it can kind of vary. And again, going back to that, if I'm working and I'm getting home late at night, I don't have as long to let the rats out as I do right now. Being home at the moment, I do have plenty of time. I don't sit with them in the pen for the whole time. Like sometimes they can be out for an hour and a half, and I will not be with them in the pen, you know, for all that time, but they will be getting out and about and stretching the legs and running around, etc. It's very rare that I get all of them out in one go. I have got 5 groups now. So yeah, it is one hell of an achievement if I manage to let all 5 out in one go. So no, I don't always. Well, last question that came in just as I was finishing filming this, so I will answer it. Do you like watching Harry Potter? I like watching it with my rats. I've seen a few, like as in I've seen bits and pieces. I've never actually sat down and fully watched all the movies. I'm afraid it's just not something that appeals to me. I don't really watch a lot of TV or movies. Just doesn't really take my fancy, so I don't really spend much time watching a lot of movies. Thank you for sending in the questions, really appreciate it. No idea what my next video is going to be, but I did enjoy doing this little Q&A, so I think somewhere down the line in the future we'll maybe do another one if we think it would be quite fun to do them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.